And so Bidemi, Abifolua, Boluwatife, I think these are familiar faces I know. So good afternoon, everybody from here. And thank
Good
you once again for
afternoon.
joining Adedamola. It's such a privilege. It's such a privilege. I understand what it means um, to really try to connect to a meeting 8 a.m. in the morning. I don't fix meetings until 10. So anybody that wants to get me out of my house by 9 a.m., it has to be that it's urgent. So really, 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 I'm so grateful that you really took out time to connect with us here. So just a brief round of introduction. My name is Goodness Balogun, and founding partner of African Student Network. I have a founder which we started together. Is currently not on this call. Is absent at the moment, but we'll join in shortly once it's available. So James, he works with Bank of America in the UK. So just background, we started ASN together in our final year in school, and we both schooled in UI. We were classmates, and because we've been working around entrepreneurship, innovation, development, and stuff, we just felt like what are the challenges that students face in general, and how can we contribute to ensuring that we are able to bridge the gaps that necessarily exist between students living in school and the outside world generally. And that's why we're having sessions like this. So basically, ASN started, we just did 1 year, like July. So we started 2023 rather. So, and we were just like, let's start out something, let's see how we can give out value. And interestingly, in the space of that 1 year, we've been able to, connect with students from across board, add interactions with, I think at the end of our first year, we have reached like 35 schools, 5 African countries, impacted directly like 1,000 students. And we just felt like, oh, these were quite interesting numbers, and we could actually reach out more to people. So our focus directly is on equipping African students, and that's why our focus has been on African students. So central to 3 areas: career development, entrepreneurship, and leadership. And this has guided our activities as a people. This has guided our initiatives and the programs we carry out. So one of our main events that we actually do, even though because we want to be able to touch base with people across board, we still run quite a number of our events virtually, is the African Student Accelerator Program. So we had that was our first accelerator program that we had last year. And we just selected a cohort of like 40 people, got them together, trained them along the lines of specific topics. So got people from, we had someone from Flutterwave, had someone from Google, just selected industry experts that were doing things and trained them around specific topics that we felt like was very needed: career development, emotional intelligence, power of networking, crafting a CV, just basic stuff that we feel like should make people stand out. And the feedback was amazing. We have people already telling us that, oh, they got into this program. We have people that are getting into graduate roles in Deutsche Bank, stuff like that. And so we feel like it's something that should continue. And that's why we are trying as much as possible, even though now everybody needs to know on this call that we are not paying Adedamola 1 naira for his time on this place. So, but as much as possible, we just try to reach out to people that feel like can give us the value our community needs and can ensure that these things really touch base, such that anyone that really comes back later can know that I attended this meeting and I got quality value and quality stuff. So that is just, I just did a brief introduction of what we do in African Student Network. So moving on for us, we'll be seeing how we are in the pipelines, working around how we can have physical engagements, physical working spaces for people so that they can learn to innovate and grow together. So without further ado, I think I'll just like Adedamola to go on, and maybe I would do a brief of citation reading. Bidemi, do you want to read the citation? Maybe I should just help you. Hello, Bidemi. Are you there? Wait, hope I'm not speaking to myself.
I can hear you clearly.
Okay, good. So I guess Bidemi is having connectivity issues. So let me just let me read it, and and we fly. Sorry, just a moment. I'm trying to pull up the citation. Sorry. A minute, please. Okay, thank you. So, Adedamola, also known as your IFRS guy, is the founder of IFRS is Easy, and IFRS is an online platform dedicated to simplifying financial reporting. He brings a wealth of experience from his time at three of the four accounting firms where he provided advisory services to a diverse range of public and private clients in Nigeria and currently in Canada. Adedamola is a passionate advocate for clear and practical financial reporting and is also a chartered accountant and an alumnus of Obafemi Awolowo University's accounting department. He has led training sessions for company executives and finance teams focusing on the business application of IFRS and US GAAP. He also contributes to the continuous professional development of CPAs in North America. So it's a pleasure to have you here on this call, even though you are from my rival university. I'm a
right?
proud guy. I'm a proud guy.
I remember when I used to represent my department and compete with you guys. So yeah, it's
It's
a
not that
privilege to be here.
yeah, please. You have the floor, sir.
Okay, yeah. Thank you guys for inviting me, and I appreciate what you guys are doing. It's always a pleasure when students gather together and share experience. Yeah, because nobody is an island, and essentially we need each other to actually grow when we talk about professional development. I'm Adedamola Otun, and before I start, I always like to make sure that I do express that everything I'll be saying here is solely my opinion, and it doesn't bother on the employers that I currently work with or that I've worked for. So everything here will be solely my opinion. So if you're going to quote anything from this session, you're quoting me directly, not the companies I currently work with or work with. Thank you, Goodness, and the OLESN team for inviting me. Okay, so I won't waste time because we have quite a number of things to discuss, and we have just 45 minutes. And because of the start time, I believe we may need to shrink that a little bit as well. Okay, so if I'm going 15 minutes late, you can just let me know. I don't know, Goodness, when do you want me to stop this
Just
session so that I can work with the time?
Just flow within 45 minutes to 1 hour. We want value, so within that time, just flow.
Okay, the whole 45 minutes, right?
Yeah, so if there's questions, we can now chip it up, but you have your 45 minutes.
45 minutes. Okay, that's fine. All right. I'm able to share my screen, right? Let me see if I
Yes, you
should be
can.
able to do that.
Yes, you can.
See. Okay, are you able to see my screen?
It's loading. Yes, I can see it.
Oh, okay. Are you okay? What do you see?
A career in accounting.
Oh, nice. Okay, that's fine. Then that means we are okay. So, I've been invited to talk about a career in accounting, and we will be laying on finance as well because you can't talk about accounting without talking about finance. It's more like, accounting is more historical in nature because it deals with past events. And based on the way companies and businesses work generally, it also borders on future events. And that's why you see issues and areas of when we talk about accounting, we also talk about sustainability, right? And there are just several things that comes in play when we talk about accounting. And so I will try to break it down as much as possible from basics to where we should be, and also how you can tap from the accounting career in general. Okay, so but before we start, I would like to hear from you guys. So what do you expect to learn from this session? I would like you to just quickly go to the uh, link that you have on screen and put in that code and just quickly tell me something about what you like to learn. It will show on the screen as you're typing. Let's quickly do that so that I can direct the conversation around that as well. So we have 1 minute to quickly do that. You go to slido.com, put in that number, and then you put in a comment. So what do you expect to learn from this career session?
Wait, I'm trying to type. It's saying the Slido is not active. Is it just me?
It shows that somebody is typing
It is
already. It
working
says
over
one
here.
participant typing. So once you type it and then you send it, it will show up here. I think when you put in the number, you don't put in that hashtag. It's just the 3364359. Okay, so we can see the
Okay.
first comment. It says, as someone who is new to the finance world, I simply want to learn how to navigate the finance and accounting space. Okay. Let's see one more comment and then we can fire on. Okay, to know how to break into the industry and miss the many processes involved. Okay. It shows one more person typing. Okay, let's have one more and then. Okay, in the interest of time, I think we can continue. Okay, so essentially we are looking at how to break into the industry, right? And also for somebody that is new to finance and accounting space, how to navigate it. So we're talking on that, and we'll be looking at the various requirements that you actually need to be able to achieve that. Okay. So what we'll be looking at, the outline is basically why accounting. We'll also be looking at career paths in accounting, and we'll be looking at essential skills in accounting and navigating the job market and also the issue of AI. So in that navigating the job market, hopefully I'll be able to talk about one of the things that goodness said I should talk about in terms of my career path as well. Okay, so Before we continue, the first one says why accounting. So when you hear the word accounting, what comes to your mind? Just one word that comes to your mind. So let's go to that slido.com and put in that number. And I mean, when you hear the word accounting, what comes to your mind? Just one word is fine that talks about accounting or that you always think accounting relates to. Money. I hear that a lot. Money. Okay, what other word comes to mind? Numbers. Nice. Money, numbers. Okay, that's a beautiful expression. Numbers. Hmm, numbers.
Someone said banks in the comments.
So what?
Banks in the comments.
Banks. Okay, accounting, banks. Okay. Okay, yeah. So when we talk about accounting, different people have different opinion and perspective as to what accounting really is, right? And some people will even say that, when you talk about numbers, oftentimes what comes to mind is Excel, right? And most of the time, if you are preparing financial statement for a company and you're working with numbers, it's always difficult sometimes to even balance a balance sheet. And that's why some people think that accounting is actually a place where when you add and subtract, it makes you cry because of the nature of and the complexity of accounting, right? And also, it's also where we figure out how much money you should have. I remember relating with the company and then explain why you don't have such amounts in your account. But essentially, when we talk about money and what we talk about accounting, accounting generally, when we are studying WAEC and all that, accounting is defined as a process, right? And there are different accounting textbook definitions of accounting. And some people will say accounting is the process of recording, summarizing, analyzing, and all that, right? And some will even talk about the fact that you use it to classify information, you interpret, and at the end of it all, the essence of accounting is for you to make assessment and decision about the business, right? But I would say that accounting essentially is how you track value. And tracking value is based on different aspects. Tracking value could be in terms of numbers, could be in terms of money, it could be in terms of sustainability. And sustainability is such a buzzword now that it's got to a stage where the IASB, that's the guys that issue out IFRS. So IFRS is an accounting standard uh, globally, right? In the US, what they use is US GAAP because that's the accounting standard that is used in the US. And so there are so many accounting standards that helps companies to actually track value, right? But they thought that it was not enough, and because of that, they had to bring in the issue of sustainability. So sustainability really talks about the areas that are not just dealing with numbers, but they are dealing with how a company adds value to its environment and the impact of a company in its environment, right? So accounting has transcended numbers. That's transcended just money alone. It's also looking at, okay, what is the impact that a business has in its environment? And there are so many things that I won't be talking about there because of time. But essentially, accounting, you need the knowledge of accounting. In fact, everybody needs knowledge of accounting. In fact, to be a good business person, you need to know accounting. It doesn't matter what you study whether you studied medicine, whether you studied economics, whether you studied public sector accounts, whatever you study, you need the knowledge of accounting. And that's why you discover that in every MBA class, there is always accounting as a session on its own, because there is no how. And like somebody said, accounting, what comes to mind is money. As long as money is involved, accounting is relevant. And businesses, even non-profit organizations, they need accounting, because the money that they're collecting from those that are contributing to them, they need to account for it, right? They need to pay their salary, the salaries of workers. So even if you're a non-profit organization, in quotes, you always think that money is not involved, but money is involved in everything. And that's why accounting is such a career path that you cannot be left stranded, let me put it that way, because there is always something that you get to gain while working as an accountant. And it does not matter whether you're even an accountant, because accounting has transcended the role of an accountant. Before it used to be that when you study accounting, you expect to be an accountant, but there are several things that it can be when you study accounting. And so we'll be looking at all that even as we go ahead. And so when we look at why accounting and why do you want to have a career in accounting, I think one of the reasons why is that accounting is the language of business, and almost everybody needs that knowledge of accounting. In fact, your personal life, you need accounting knowledge, because that's where you talk about personal finance, how you manage the income you have. And it doesn't matter whether you're a doctor, you need to be able to manage your income. Otherwise, you just be working and there's nothing to show for it. And so accounting is the language of business, and it's something that is essential for everybody to have at least a little bit of knowledge of. And besides that, when you work in accounting, you just have that job security, and there are diverse opportunities, because you can work anywhere as long as money is involved. Like it has a wide range of specialization. And even when you talk about finance, although accounting and finance are quite a little bit different, but I believe finance is like an offshoot of accounting, because accounting talks about historical issues, finance talks about, stuff that happen in the future, right? That's where you talk about budgeting and all that. But at the end of it all, when you combine it, you notice that both career paths, they are infinite. Like, they are just a whole lot of stuff that I can do in accounting. I'll be mentioning them and we'll be looking at them as we go ahead. And one thing that is constant in the world of accounting is that there's always continuous learning and professional growth. You can never be stranded in terms of knowledge when it comes to accounting. And that's the thing with accounting. It's such that you just need to keep developing yourself, because there are always new things to learn. There are always new accounting standards that are released. There are always new businesses that are coming up and new ways of doing things. In some years back, there was nothing like cryptocurrency, but now you have to account for cryptocurrency, right? Yeah, some years back, there was nothing like AI as such, but now you have to look at the impact of AI in business. And so as the world keeps evolving, accounting also keeps evolving. And so that's the way it works. And we'll be looking at different aspects of of this as we go ahead. And when we talk about career paths in accounting, there are quite a number of it. And I try to compile just a few that I think are relevant to those of you that are listening here. And if you look at it, and look at the career path in accounting, you see auditing, you see taxation, you see financial accounting. And when you look at the finance bit of it as well, you see financial planning and analysis. You see management accounting, forensic accounting, public sector accounting, banking, treasury, and all that. There are just quite a lot of career paths when it comes to accounting. And these are just very few that I have to put in just one slide. So there are so many areas that you can actually go into when it comes to accounting, essentially. And if you look at it for external auditors talks about consultants, and oftentimes they are those that are working in an accounting firm, right? And so if you have the knowledge of audit, it means that you are able to offer such services. And there are also companies that actually hire internal auditors. And what those guys do is that they help to look at those controls that are needed for a company to survive, right? And so that's what an internal auditor does. So companies hire internal auditors, and it's one of the career paths in accounting. And also information technology auditors as well. They are also consultants that work on the IT aspect of businesses. And so there are so many areas that you can actually dabble into when it comes to accounting. And I would say that the best part to go through is always determined on your preference, and it also determines, it's also dependent on uh, what you're more comfortable with. But I've seen people go into finance and then they complain about, oh, the buzzwords that they use here, they are very difficult to understand and all that. And so what you are more passionate about is what you should focus on. But when it comes to accounting, there are so many parts that you can actually take. There are so you can't exhaust it. And so the best way to know what works best for you is by going through professional certifications. Especially as Nigerians and as Africans, there is always that accounting body in your country, right? So for Nigeria now, we have what we call ICANN. And ICANN is an accounting body in Nigeria that helps to professionally grow accountants. So if you take ICANN, it helps you to have exposure to different courses in accounting. And as you take them, you get to know, okay, when you take audit in your skills level, you see, okay, what are those things that are required? What are the knowledge that are required? When you take tax, you see those things. All these different areas, they are all embedded in the courses. There are, I think, about 14 courses in ICANN, from skills, from foundation level to skills level to professional level. When you take all these courses, you get that exposure, and from there you start thinking, okay, so which one works best for me? Which one do I find more? Because for me, that was where I first got the idea of IFRS, because I was studying ICANN, and then there's this course called financial reporting, and I just so much fell in love with it, and I started finding out, okay, what are those things that I need to understand in IFRS? I started learning IFRS and all that. And my first job was in Coca-Cola in Nigeria, Coca-Cola Learning Bottling Company. They are called Nigerian Bottling Company. So I started as a management trainee there, and I was in the finance unit. So I was more of working on finance related activities and all that. But because of the passion I had from IFRS when I was studying ICANN, I was always into the financial reporting stuff. And that's when I started my blog then. I used to so as I was reading through the ICANN study packs for financial reporting, I started putting out my thoughts on my blog and all that, and I started writing stuff on IFRS. And from there, I applied to, before I even got Coca-Cola, I already applied to all these big four and all that. I applied to EY, Deloitte, PwC, and all that. And I went through the interview stages. I think for PwC, I got to the final stage. I was rejected at the final stage. For I think EY as well. I think I got to the final stage. I was rejected as well. I did Deloitte also. I think I didn't pass the exam then. I did KPMG. I passed the exam, but something happened. I missed the next step. They sent a mail and then I missed it and all that. And I think those are some of the things I'll also be discussing today. Yeah. So from there, I decided, okay, let me just stop just focusing on these consulting firms, and let me try other companies as well. And that's when I was able to get the first role in as a financial analyst, a management training, Coca-Cola Learning Bottling Company. And so that was where I started out. And then I started applying, even as I was working. I did 1 year at Coca-Cola. I was applying to the big fours and all that. And because of the passion I had for financial reporting, for IFRS and all that, because of the fact that I've started that IFRS journey through ICANN, right? And that's why having a professional certification really helps, because it exposes you to the different stuff that are available, and then you find your passion from one of them, right? And some people find passion from finance, maybe when they study strategic financial management in the professional section of ICANN. You know, there are three stages. So in the professional, there's strategic financial management, there's also performance management. So there are some people that actually that's what they love, right? I have a guy that was what he loved. He just found strategic financial management to be fun to him. And some people hate it, some people fail it a lot, but he just loved it. And then that was what he did. And because he was in the finance part, he took CFA. He started CFA exams and he passed the CFA from level 1 to level 3, and he passed it, and he became a chartered financial analyst. Yeah, so the major thing that I'm trying to bring out is that if you really want to know what your career choice, what your career option will be, just go and take uh, a course in whether ICANN or ACCA. Just take a course, and from there you will have an idea of, okay, what are these things. It may not give you like the whole bucket of ideas, but at least it gives you an hint to what each course represents, because each course is a career path on its own. I mean, audit is a career path on its own, right? And so if you have that uh, professional training, right, it gives you that exposure that you need to be able to make that decision. And you find out that if you are struggling with finance while taking a professional course, just don't do it, because it is just like you are starting with the basics and you are struggling with the basics. So if you are struggling with the basics and then you want to extend it, it may become a problem. And that's why having that professional skills is very, very crucial. Like I can't I can't over say it that it's very important that you have that professional track, because that helps you uh, potentially. Okay, so what are the essential skills that are needed in accounting generally? And I would say there are quite a number of them. And the major thing is to understand that when it comes to skills, there are two sides to it, that you have to be able to balance it. There's what we call the technical skill. Technical skill is the know-how. That is, what are those things that you are able to do? And what are those things that you know, right? That's technical skills. Soft skills are those things that are embedded in you, that they are supposed to be natural to you. And that's where we talk about critical thinking and problem solving, talk about your presentation skills and communication. And you see, the thing about counting is that it's not just about numbers again. It has transcended numbers. It's more like a storytelling role. Because if you have prepared financial statements and all that, that's the technical part. You know how to do that. So how do you now interpret what you have prepared, right? And that's the storytelling part. That's where your communication skills, your presentation skills, and your critical thinking and problem solving skills have to have a play, because that's how you communicate value to whoever you are presenting the financials to, right? And so you have to have a balance between the technical skills and the soft skills. I'll be sharing this slide, so I've not run through everything because of time. I want us to have time to talk about the questions that you may have, so that we can discuss that. But essentially, when it comes to technical skills, you don't need to take the whole of ICANN, ACCA, CIMA, right? You just need to take one that aligns with where you want to be at, right? And essentially, if you're in Nigeria or in Nigerian, I would really advise that you take ICANN. You may not even take ACCA, and this is not to say that ACCA is not good, but I feel that when you take ICANN, number one, you have access to various materials. You have access to the fact that you are not paying in foreign currency, and you also have access to the fact that you can easily go to the ICANN office around you, and there are so many tutorial centers around that actually offer ICANN courses. And so the fact that even ICANN itself can be transferred to other countries, because currently, when I was actually preparing for my interviews, one of the concerns I had when I was still in Nigeria and I was interviewing for roles in UK, Ireland, Canada, and the rest, is that will my ICANN be sufficient? And to be candid, the icon that I had got me three different job roles. I got one in UK, I got one in Canada, I got one in Ireland, and I had to decide which one to take, right? I didn't have to write ACCA or CPA or whatever, just my icon. Because what they will just ask you, do you have a professional qualification? As long as you're able to say, oh, yes, I do have one, I have my icon. That's all. Because they believe that, and the way the world works now is so much global that the certification that you have in your country is extended everywhere else. Just this February, I can add an MOU with CPA Canada, and CPA has a whole lot of steps, like the number of levels that you need to scale through in CPA Canada is much, like it is so much. And the MOU, what it does, it breaks all those steps such that you just go to write the final exam. They call it CFEA, the final exam in Canada. So if you have ICANN before coming to Canada, you're able to skip all the steps in CPA and you just write the final exam alone. And once you pass it, you're good. And so people always underestimate the value of ICANN, and they think that, oh, it's just in Nigeria. It's not. It's a global thing because ICANN is a member of IFAC, and that's the International Federation of Accountants and all that. And so if you have that professional qualification, that's why I always admire that. You find the accounting part, you need that professional qualification because it gives you that first exposure. And once you have that exposure, I mean, there's no limit to what you can achieve. Yeah, I don't know. I just want to confirm that everyone can still hear me. I would like somebody to unmute and say something.
Yes, sir, I
We'll
can hear
take,
you, sir.
oh, perfect. Yeah, we will take questions as soon as I'm through with the session so that we are able to maximize the time that we have. Okay, yeah, so I think that's pretty much it. I'm just trying to lay out uh, the, the technical skills and the soft skills that are needed for a successful career in accounting. And we did say finance as well. And when it comes to finance, really, if you really want to like make an impact in the finance world, you need to actually start CFA. But I would advise that even before you start CFA, finish your ICANN first, or at least start ICANN. Yeah, because ICANN gives you that first exposure. And CFA can take a lot of time depending on how fast you're able to pass the exams and the passing rate. Because when it comes to CFA, it's not about how good you are. It is about how good you are over the other people that are writing the exams. Because you can actually write CFA, perform excellently well, go past 70% and all that. And they will still tell you that you did not pass because other people passed more than you did in that actual session. And in the next one that you take, you may even perform lower than what you did previously, and then they will tell you that you passed. And that's because it's more like a competition when you're writing CFA compared to ICANN. ICANN, as long as you have passed over 50 or more than 50 in each course, you have passed. It's not like they are drawing a line to say, okay, everybody that is writing this exam, you are all competing. And then we just pick so and so number of people that we deemed have passed the exam, right? And so that's why I always said that even if you are taking a finance part, you also need to have ICANN because it gives you that initial background. And I think another skill that is needed is Outlook, which is very, very important. And what I mean by Outlook is Microsoft package itself. That is the Excel, PowerPoint, Word, and so on. But I think the most important one is Excel. And I can't overemphasize this, that if you don't have knowledge of Excel in this world, I don't know, you're going to struggle a lot. Like you will struggle a lot if you don't have the knowledge of Excel. And that's why there are so many resources outside there. If you go on YouTube, search for Excel classes, you see a whole lot of stuff. You don't even need to pay for any of them. You need Excel. In fact, almost all software is built on Excel. You see all this Python, SQL, and all that. Everything picks from Excel. You can't it's irreplaceable, right? And so that's why having a knowledge of Excel really, really helps. In fact, everything we do at work is based on Excel. So if you don't have that knowledge, it's also something that you need to look out for. When it comes to accounting software proficiency, I would say it doesn't really matter, except if probably you want to like work in companies and not in consulting, right? So if you want to work in companies, mostly you'll be using SAP. For smaller businesses, they use QuickBooks. But I feel that what's most important is your Excel knowledge, right? Your accounting software proficiency can also come in play, maybe by the time you get a job role like that in a company. But if you're in consulting, you don't really necessarily need to have this knowledge as such. It's something that you can actually build over time. And accounting standards, the knowledge of accounting standards is very crucial because almost all career paths require knowledge of accounting standards, especially in this world where IFRS is the big deal, right? So you need the knowledge of accounting standard. The FASB beside it is the US GAAP. So if you're working in the US, most likely you actually need that knowledge of US GAAP. And also here in Canada as well, most of the engagement that I do are related to US GAAP. But because I already have IFRS knowledge, it's transferable because there are just some differences most of the time when those guys release standard. For instance, IFRS 15 that was issued, revenue from contract with customers. It was both the US GAAP guys and the IFRS guys that prepared it, right? They like had a conversion agreement and all that, and they came up with one standard, right? So the differences are always very, very small. And that's why this IFRS, it also comes back to ICANN because you would have learned it in ICANN as well, right? And so it becomes something that's transferable. I didn't learn US GAAP as such when I was in Nigeria. All what I learned was IFRS. And then when I was preparing for all those interviews and all that, I started looking at, oh, let me just learn some stuff about US GAAP. And then from there, I was able to get roles even without really knowing US GAAP because I could tell them that it's something that's transferable, something I can quickly grasp based on my prior knowledge of IFRS. So knowing IFRS is crucial. Even if you are going into the finance world, I mean, people in finance world do so many stuff that has to do with IFRS. They do due diligence when you're selling a company to another company, whether I like it or not, you need to know that IFRS because it's part of the stuff that go into the deal that yeah, whether you're on the sell side or you're on the buy side. So the knowledge of accounting standard is also very crucial. And lastly, I'll talk about knowledge of AI, which is one of those things that we'll be discussing after now. It's very, very important that you make use of all these different open AI sources that you have. You have ChatGPT, you have Copilot, you have Gemini. There are so many of them. Make sure you're using them because it's very, very crucial. And I don't know. We'll be talking about that, so don't let me jump the gun. And I would also like to say that when it comes to, I think I've already talked about it, when it comes to someone that is just trying to build their career, taking courses like ICANN really helps because it gives you the exposure that is needed. And also, like this, you participating in something like this also gives you exposure because these are stuff that you may not have knowledge of that you're currently getting access to. And also, I would say that networking with professionals also helps. If you're on LinkedIn, it's a very good place to meet a lot of people, right? And even in this kind of gathering as well, you meet people as well, professionals with thoughts that are like. Now, I would also say that if you're able to intern for companies, and it doesn't necessarily need to be a big firm, if it's just a small audit firm around where you work, you intern for them for some time, it also helps give you access to some of the things that you don't know. And one thing that I've noticed is that the worst that people can say is no, right? So if you see an accounting firm that is close to where you stay, you go there with your CV, you will go, the worst they can say is that they don't have what's it called, an availability for you, right? I remember then when I just finished school, I was still waiting for NYC and all that. And I was like, what will I do? Right? I just took my CV, drafted it and all that. And I started going to I even went to banks. Once I get to the bank, I'll just say, I want to see the branch manager. And they will tell me, okay, no problem. Then they will take me to the bank and I will tell them, oh, I just finished school and all that, and I'm looking for an internship. And they will tell me, okay, we're sorry, we don't have this now, but if we have it, we'll contact you and all that, right? But the thing is that all those stuff also gave me a perspective. It gave me an experience. It gave me the fact, okay, I can even communicate to people and let them know, okay, this is what I want, right? And the most that they can say is no, right? You don't get to lose anything from doing something like that. And I remember all that time while I was doing all those works and all that, I eventually got one. But I just went there with my CV and said, oh, I need the stuff. And they gave me something to do. I started working as an accountant in one of the firms that I started working with then, before I eventually now went for NYC. But what I'm just saying importantly is that internships also helps you. It could even be enough for profit organization that you go to volunteer for. And all those kind of experience builds you over time. And you just discover that over time you are evolving, you are learning new things because of the little things that you are taking for granted, but that are adding value to you, by the way. And such like this call that you're currently on as well, it will eventually add value to you. It may not seem like it's at the start, but as you are persistent with adding value to yourself through all these little stuffs, everything adds up at the end. Okay, it's in order not to waste time, you can always come back to these slides. Let's quickly talk about navigating the job market. And I think one of the mistakes that people make is that they wait until they are they have an opportunity before they actually prepare for the opportunity. And it's just like what this guy said, Abraham Lincoln. He said that if they give me 6 hours to cut down a tree, I'll use the first 4 hours to sharpen the axe and use the remaining 2 hours to cut the tree down. Because the 4 hours that I'm using to sharpen the axe, it gives me the advantage of time. And by the time I get to that tree, it just becomes easy, right? And so navigating the job market is not something that you do at the point when you actually need job. It's something that you do years before you need the job. And it's a little thing that you do that adds up to giving you that kind of confidence and that kind of value that you're able to offer to the market, right? And some of those little things is preparing your resume ahead of time. If you don't have a resume now, I don't know what you're doing. It doesn't matter whether in 100 level, you're 400 level, you're a graduate already, or you have finished your NYC, you're looking for a job. You need that, right? Learning how to interview is also a skill that you need, right? It does not matter the level of that you are in, you need to learn it. And there are so many resources online that you can actually use to prepare yourself, like how to answer all those questions of, okay, how do you present yourself and all that. It is all those little things that have to add up, but you have to make sure that you're consciously preparing for them before the opportunity comes, right? And there are job boards as well that you're supposed to be looking at. And it's not even because you are looking for a job at that point in time. You might probably be going through an NYC now, and it could be that, okay, in the next 6 months, that's when you graduate. But that's not when you start looking for job boards, right? And when I talk about job boards, I'm talking about like Jobzilla, all this. I can't remember all the job boards that I actually subscribed to them when I was in NYC, but I know that there are so many of them. You're supposed to be actively looking for. And what you are doing is that you're preparing your mind. That, okay, what are those things that if you go through a job board, they will tell you, okay, for this particular role, these are the skills, these are the knowledge skills, technical skills, soft skills that are required. And when you go through them, you have an idea, okay, what are those things that I need to start improving myself upon? And when it comes to LinkedIn, you have to be on LinkedIn. I don't know. Some people find it cringe to be on LinkedIn, but really nobody cares. Just be on LinkedIn and put your profile there and meet with people. You learn a lot on LinkedIn. Yeah, you don't even need to be posting anything. Just connecting with people, seeing what people post, going through stuff. I mean, there are so many people that have actually followed that have impacted me, have added value to me. And there was even a time I made a post on it that I listed out different people that you can actually follow that post valuable stuff, right? That you can actually get stuff from. And so that's it. Like all those kind of little things that you do, they actually add up. And learn how to write emails too will really, really help you. And it's in terms of, okay, how do you draft an email? How do you write it? So, for example, let's say you're applying to a job now. How do you write? How do you address the recruiter? Do you just say hi, sir, or hello, or all that? So all those little things adds up in the end. And if you really, really want to stand out, if you really want to add value to yourself, the first thing you to do is to add value when there's no opportunity at all. Because when there's an opportunity, that's when you become agitated, anxious, and you're all over the place. But when you're preparing yourself, putting in all those steps ahead of time, it gives you the leverage over someone that is just relaxed and thinking, oh, when I have this opportunity, I'll pick it up. And that's why when I interviewed for Coca-Cola, all the no that I got when I was at applying to PwC, because I got to the final stage of PwC, they rejected me. I got to final stage of EY, they rejected me. But all those experience that I had then, by the time I got to the Coca-Cola, was because they were like, this is the person we are looking for. Because it was very smooth and very straightforward for me because I had the experience of getting no, right? And so I could handle even if they said no, right? So I was there and I was like, what's the worst thing that will happen? And so I took the interview and it was very smooth and all that. And so also when I was also applying to Canada, UK, Ireland, the only thing I had was my ICANN, right? I was applying. If they give me a rejection, I will go back to my CV, I will freshen it up again, I will apply again until I got an interview invite. And so I took the interviews. There were some that I got to the final stage. There are just several that I took that I got to the final stage, and then they will say no. But all those things did not debar me because I knew that even if they said no, I still got some value from it. But sometimes some of them will give you feedback. They say, okay, there was one feedback that I pretty much remember. I think it was one UK. I think it was KPMG UK. I can't remember exactly which pick for UK, but I think it was one UK. I did all the stages. I got to the final stage and all that. And at the end of it all, I can't remember if it's KPMG or otherwise, but I know the recruiter called me and they did say that, okay, so we like the way the interview went and all that. We see that you're a strong candidate and all that. But one of the things that the partner that interviewed you said, the feedback that they gave was that they asked you about uh, how you will be able to cope given the different working environment that you'll be going through. And then you did not have a specific answer for them. So they thought that you have not thought about it before making the move. That is, why are you leaving your country to another country? What value do you think you will gain and all that? And what kind of experience do you think you'll be having? And what kind of challenges do you think you'll be having and all that? And when they told me that, gave me that feedback, I was like, oh, wow, interesting. I took that. And when I went to the next one, I already prepared the answer to that, right? And so I think that when you do all these little things, at the end of it all, it adds up. And even when you get a no, it's a blessing, really, because whether I like it or not, you have gotten value from it, even though it wasn't what you wanted. And so when the three of us came, it was like, oh, wow. And I had to choose one out of the three. Yeah, so it's very interesting that you can get no over time, but as long as you are adding value to yourself, it builds up and it adds up, right? Uh, And I think the last one that I wanted to talk about is in terms of AI. And I did mention that AI is like a big buzzword now. And in fact, it's even in its early stage. It's just like the first time when the browser came into play, right? Because before, not everybody had access to internet. But now what AI has done, it has democratized information now. So it's no longer one person has access to information. Everybody has access to information. And in fact, it has brought it in such a way that the kind of information that you get is so specific that as long as you know how to put in the prompt to ask ChatGPT, it will give you exactly what you need. And it has really made life easy for people. So that it is, what the browser and internet first did was that it 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 brought zero cost to information, that to access to information for everybody. But what AI is doing now is bringing zero thinking, because now you don't need to think as much for you to actually get stuff done, right? So it's more like it is putting down the burden of uh putting all those information on your head and placing it in your palm. That's what AI is doing. And if you're not tapping into it, you are going to be left behind. And there are so many courses. In fact, I think Google has some courses on that. I don't know. I may share the link with you guys after now, where you can actually learn what AI is, what it's currently doing, machine learning, and all that. And it doesn't necessarily mean that I want to be a data scientist, AI scientist, or AI engineer, but it's just to have that knowledge. It is just when computer was introduced, everybody was on typewriter before, right? And then computer was introduced, and then people started learning how to use computer, right? And over time, you discover that it became such that a big deal that all those that had uh, typewriter knowledge, they were replaced by those that had computer knowledge. And the fear of AI replacing accounting guys is almost none, because whether I like it or not, there's always human intervention when it comes to all this technology and all that. And so there's one professor at Harvard that made this quote that I really love. He said, AI won't replace humans, but humans with AI will replace humans without AI. And he wrote a very beautiful script about that. And he had a podcast that I will also share with you guys after now. And you can read it. It's a very lovely conversation. And he talked about the fact that the knowledge of AI is a big deal. AI itself, it will help everyone. It will ease the burden of putting everything on your head and all that, right? But having that knowledge is just like having computer knowledge when somebody else has typewriter knowledge. But one, we know computer has never replaced anybody, right? All of us, we're all using computers now, right? We're all using Excel and all that. So it's not replacing anybody. It's just that knowledge of knowing how to use it that is replacing the other person that does not know how to use it. And so all these things, they add up when you actually build yourself up, and when you add value to yourself by consciously and constantly learning. And one thing about AI that I would also like to mention is that it can be deceptive. In fact, it can even land you in trouble. And there is this example that I like to quote, and that's what happened some time ago I think in the US. So there was this lawyer. He has over 30 years of experience and all that. And it was, I think he's in the HR compensation bit of his career. So he was a lawyer, he had a law firm and all that. So they were trying to argue a case in court. And so what he did was that he went to AI, I think ChatGPT or something, and he just put in his information there, and ChatGPT just gave him one scenario and all that. And when you are in court, people always talk about judicial precedents, something that has happened in the past, right? And then they refer to those example scenarios, and then they use that to back up their argument. And so this lawyer, what he did was he just went to AI, did all the information, put it there, and got the feedback from it, not knowing that AI was quoting something that did not happen at all. So it was in court, and it was quoting something that was just formulated by AI. It was not something that actually really do happen. It's just like when you're quoting that, in year 2007, there was something that happened there was a case between Mr. So and so in the United States, right? And he was quoting it, not knowing that ChatGPT was also referencing something that never happened at all. And so they had to charge him to court after that, after the judge found out that he was actually using something that did not exist. And that was when they learned that he actually used ChatGPT to do it. And so, as much as there are benefits of AI, there are also areas. In fact, I always say that I don't rely on AI when it comes to accounting knowledge. If you have an IFRS issue and you type it on AI, it will give you an answer you think that is correct, it's not correct. Yeah, because it's also limited in terms of how it can analyze some information, right? And so the use of AI is beautiful, is good and all that, but you also need to also be careful of the kind of input that you give it and also what you get back from it. Yeah, because when you get something back from it, in philosophy, they do call it confirmation bias. You have to make sure that you confirm what you have gotten. If it's an IFRS issue, an accounting issue, and it says is what I always do is I say, okay, give me the reference. When it gives me the reference, I go to the reference, I check it. I check what the standard is saying. Does it align with what it has said? Yeah, so as much as it's beautiful to have that kind of access to information, you also need to test, prove what you're getting as output so that it doesn't bite you at the end. Yeah, I think that's where I will leave it at. If you guys have any questions, I'll be happy to answer it, and we can discuss and talk about that. Thank you for having me.
Wow, wow, such an amazing session. Thank you so much, Adedamola. I loved that it was engaging, and speaking about the lawyer story, I think I caught up on that story, and I remember that incident. It takes me back to my final year project when I had to, typically AI was giving me researches that, for example, let's say I basically focus on energy poverty as a specialization. So here was giving me researches from a particular guy that works on energy poverty, but that particular paper is referencing actually does not exist. So it's something that is crazy. It's crazy, but it's beautiful to see how much innovation and how much change it has brought to the work landscape, and how that we can typically engage more on some of these things. So we'll typically be opening the floor for questions. Abifola, your hands have been up for a while. Do you have a question?
That's a question, though. Oh, that's an error.
You said what?
That was a mistake. Sorry. Even though I have a number of
Okay.
things to say. Yes.
Yeah, please go ahead. Feel free.
Yeah, Adedamola, I just thank you very much for the talk. I really got value. So I don't know if you could shed light on the ICANN exam, how one can go about it, maybe in few minutes, and how one can do well. Yes.
Yeah, sure. I think for ICANN, it's almost pretty straightforward. And let me see if I'm able to pull out I know I made a post recently about it. What you need to know about ICANN. So if you go online and search for adedamolaotun.com, it will take you to my website, and at the tab you will see a section for ICANN, right? And I put it there on what you need to know about ICANN. Let me see if I'm able to share that. Share the screen. Are you able to see it? Are you able to see my screen?
It's still your former slide that I'm seeing.
Okay, it's not showing. Okay, yeah. So I think ICANN is pretty straightforward in terms of how to navigate it. And your best bet is to actually look for an ICANN tutorial center around you. Really, it's very straightforward. Once you go there, you just tell them, okay, you're looking to. You can search for it on Google. Just search for ICANN tutorial centers near me, and you definitely see those that you can actually approach to get that knowledge. But just for the sake of our conversation, I would say that if you want to start ICANN, the first thing is, do you already have your certificate? That is your undergraduate certificate. If you have that, it helps you to know what stage of ICANN you are going to start with, and then what courses you are going to write. So essentially, I think there are 14 courses from foundation to professional level that you have to pass. And most of the time, if you have an accounting certificate, an account as an accounting graduate, right? If you have an accounting certificate, the foundation level, which is the first stage, because there are three levels. There's the foundation, there's the skills, and there's the professional, right? But if you have an accounting certificate, an accounting as an accounting graduate, you're able to skip the foundation stage. So you get an exemption from that. And then you only have to write the skills and the professional stage, right? And when you write the skills stage, I think there are 6 courses in the skills stage. And in the professional, there are 5 courses. So you just take those 6 courses. And the good side is that you can take them one after the other. If you don't have all the time in the world, because probably you're working. And if you are not, you can take the whole course at a time, right? Yeah, but the major thing is that you are taking those courses. And I would advise to actually go for a tutorial center that will actually teach you. It's really, really helps you, especially if you are not, you don't have an accounting background, right? And it doesn't matter the kind of uh, what you graduated with, whether it's 2-1, 2-2, it doesn't matter. Yeah, as long as you have the certificate, it doesn't matter whether you even have an accounting certificate, whether it's what's it called, finance that you did in school, economics, even medicine. I've seen medical doctor because there was a time when I was teaching account tutorials and all that, and I used to have engineering students that are writing that kind, and I'm always like, "What are you guys looking for here?" Yeah. So if you even want to like scale from wherever you are into whether finance or whether accounting, having that account really, really helps because it just exposes you and then you just get all those knowledge and build from there, right? So just seek an accounting tutorial center around you, and then they'll give you all the information you need, how to register, and it's pretty straightforward. You can even do all the registration by yourself. But if you go to my website, I listed out everything that you need to do in terms of the steps that you need to take and all that, how to register and all that. So you should be able to find it easy. Yeah, I also listed some American tutorial centers on the website as well. Just go to adedamolaotun.com, go to the icon tab. I don't know why I'm unable to share it though, to share my screen, but let me see if I can drop the link. Yeah, let me see if I can do that.
Is that it?
Just a second.
Adedamolaotun.com.
Yeah, not, I think the icon itself. If you click that link, I think it should take you to, it should take you to the post that I have related to icon. I also listed out all the past questions and answers for each of the stages as well. So hopefully it should help. Yeah, I think that's about it. I don't know if there are other questions as well.
Okay. James, please go ahead.
Yeah, you were mentioning something. Thank you very much for the session. It was quite enlightening. I was watching on YouTube before. So you were mentioning something about like what is it called, AI and all that. So I wanted to ask, in your experience in the industry, how has like the incept of AI really shaped the way you work? Because I used to see a lot of things about like financial intelligence and all
Yeah.
those applications. How has it really affected your work? And how do you forecast is going to really shape like entry roles when it comes to like, because when some of these AI system, when they are properly integrated, they can easily catch up with some of the entry roles that have like some mundane calculations and all that, and that
Yeah.
might lead to like the senior people like you having your jobs, and the AI can manage like stuffs like that, at least reduction. How do you think is going to like shape the landscape of job generally? And you can then bring it down to like what you've seen in the industry, in your particular industry.
Yeah, thanks, James. Yeah, I think let me start with the fact that AI, you can't avoid it, right? Like it's something that you need to like just get that knowledge of. It's unavoidable. In fact, currently companies, consulting firms, and all that, they are developing their own AI. every company is developing their own AI, especially consulting firms. Almost all consulting firms have theirs. In my company, we have what we use. So as we have ChatGPT, Gemini, and all that, we are not supposed to be using those when we're at work. So every consulting firm is building their own such that they are able to like manage. Sometimes there's always the fear of whatever information you put on there can actually get leaked outside, right? And so people are also trying to manage that security bit of it by saying, okay, let us build our own AI in-house such that we're able to deliver the kind of value that you get from the open sources, right? And so almost all companies are latching into it now because whether I like it or not, it's just the way I was using that illustration of the computer and the typewriter. There is always a time when you have that typewriter knowledge, but then you have to also have the computer knowledge because whether I like it or not, the typewriter jobs that used to be, they are no longer in existence, right? And so the knowledge gap is what you need to feel, because once you're able to feel that, then you get prepared for what is ahead. Because whether I like it or not, it has come to stay, and it's not something that you can avoid. In fact, I would say it is still in its early stages. Yeah, because it's just a buzzword now. It's still something people are playing with, but with time it becomes something that without that knowledge you can't. It's just the way typewriter. Nobody had a knowledge of Excel before then, right? But people started learning the usage of computer and the application and software that come with it, right? And so it is just the way AI is as well. And so when you talk about the fact that some entry roles will get lost, I don't think roles will get lost in the process. I think what will get lost is the roles that becomes mundane because of the introduction of AI. And so those that will not get lost are those that have learned or that has tapped into the value that it has to offer. And so essentially it is just a change of landscape, but not necessarily it's more like an enhancement. And it is that enhancement that you really need. And it's the knowledge that you build on that enhancement that really helps you and gives you that that thing that you're looking for. So essentially, you just need to also tap into it, get the knowledge, because AI is something that everybody is learning now. Everybody's building capacity on it, and you just need to build capacity on it as well. And essentially, it doesn't necessarily mean that it will clear out entry roles. There will always be entry roles because you always need to do my intervention for anything that has to do with technology. So it's just bridging that gap that really matters, and you'll be good to go.
Thank you very much. That was exhaustive. Thank you very much.
Great stuff. Thank you very much. Yeah. So, Adedamola, when did you start your ICANN? Was it before graduation or after school?
Yeah, you'll be surprised that I was actually lecturing ICANN students, and I myself did not have ICANN then. Because I remember I started with ATS, right? So I started with ATS 1, ATS 2, ATS 3, and I think that was when I was in school.
Tell me.
And so I was taking ATS 1, ATS 2, ATS 3. So as soon as I finished ATS 3, right, so let me explain what that means. So there is ICANN itself, and then there is ATS ICANN. So ATS ICANN is for those that, I mentioned that for you to have ICANN or to start ICANN, you need your certificate. That is, you have to be a graduate. But what ICANN did was that they created the ATS such that you can actually do ATS 1 to ATS 3 without being a graduate, because you don't need your BSc certificate. You only need your level for it. But that takes like 3 years because you have to write ATS 1, ATS 2, ATS 3. If it were ICANN that you're starting with, you have to do foundation, skills, then professional. That one is also 3 years. But that depends on it depends on where you're starting from. Because if you have an accounting certificate, you don't need to start from foundation. If you have economics, you also may not need to start from foundation. You may just probably need to take a course or two. You get. But the major thing is that there is a syllabus that explains those exemptions that are available depending on what you graduated with, right? And so I started with ATS 1, ATS 2, ATS 3 when I was in school. And as soon as I finished ATS 3, the tutorial center that had me just was like, this guy is very good. They'll come and be teaching ATS. And that's why I started teaching ATS then. And before you know it, I started preparing for ICANN exams, and I thought, oh, let me just read this by myself. And I started reading it, and I found it interesting. I thought, what if I am lecturing this thing and I'm also preparing for the exam? And that's why I said that when it comes to getting things in life, the worst that can happen is they will say no to you. And so I went to that ICANN tutorial center then. In fact, I went to an ACCA tutorial center. I also went to an ICANN tutorial center, right? And I said that, see, I have 8 years. I've already learned from it as one to test three. I have this account. I graduated with the BSc in accounting, and I know accounting. I've studied financial reporting. I know it as well. Let me come and be teaching you guys your F1 in ACCA because they have financial accounting there. I also went to the ICANN guys because I was looking for a job then, and I was looking to make money before I go for my NYSC. So I went to the ICANN guys. So I said, let me come and be teaching you guys. I know that you guys think I don't have ICANN yet, but I will get my ICANN soon. But let me start teaching you. And I started teaching them financial reporting, and I also prepare for the exam. And also the ACCA guys, I was teaching them I think is F2 or F1, I can't remember. For the financial accounting, I also preparing for the exam. That was how I started like accounting tutorials and all that. Yeah, but that's by the way. So after I did the ICANN stage, and I did I used my BSc. I think it was after I got my BSc that I actually used it for my ICANN, and I started the skills, and then I did the professional level. So that's why I eventually got my certificates and all that. Yeah, so I think that's pretty much, but it's very straightforward. Once you go to the website, you see I listed out all the steps that you need to take. But if you just need somebody to guide you more, you can just go to the tutorial center and tell them that okay, you want them to register for you. But if you go through all the steps, you can actually do the registration by yourself, and then you start preparing for the exams.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, sir. I don't know if anyone has any other questions. Any other questions? Okay, thank you. Okay, I think success, you can open your mic. You can open yourself. Success, you can speak. Okay, I don't know if she joining with oh, you're
She says
speaking.
she's speaking. It's possible she's on mute.
You're muted. You're muted if you're speaking. Check your mic. You can check your mic also as you type. Yeah.
Check this network, so she's trying to type.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So the question is about ACCA.
Yeah, what would she like to know?
Okay, she's saying she'd like to know a bit more about it. What's the difference between it and HCA?
Yeah, I think so. The thing about ACCA is that I did say earlier that ICANN is Nigeria. I mean, is a Nigerian certification in quotes. Yeah, because it's a global stuff. Yeah, but ICANN is more like okay, they're situated in Nigeria, but they are also acceptable all over the world, right? And ACCA, they don't really have a specific place. Normally people do say that okay, they are from the UK and all that, but it's like a global accounting body. That's the way they structure their own, so that every other person from every other country can actually gain access to it. And I won't really say there is much difference, yeah, other than the fact that ACCA gives you something that ICANN may not give you. And for instance, now, I remember one of our partner when I was one of our is it director when I was working in one of the big four in Nigeria. He You'll be surprised. He did not actually go to any university. So what he did while growing up was that he did what was it called? His O levels and all that. And then from there he started ACCA. Did not go to any university in Nigeria, not go to any university outside of Nigeria. He just started ACCA. He took the first foundation courses and all that. Then once you take foundation and you take some other parts of it, they will tell you that you can actually write a project for Oxford Books University. And then you get a certificate from Oxford Books University. So once you get that certificate, it's more like you have gone to a university, even though you did not go to one. Yeah, because ACCA has that kind of partnership with the university. And so they're able to like integrate the courses that they have with what the university desires. And then you're able to actually get that. So that's one of the benefits of ACCA. But when you look at it, it's just a thing of pros and cons that because the cost that you incur when it comes to CCA can actually be very high. I don't know. I think somebody needs to mute. Yeah. So the cost that you incur can actually be high because when you look at it in terms of conversion currency, right? I think it can be actually very high for Nigerians that are actually looking to get something like that. But in the real sense, if you are of the opinion that you need to have that university certification, I think ACCA will actually be a very good route for you. And I know I say this because there are some people that probably in Nigeria, they went through HND, they were unable to convert it to their university certificate. They thought, oh, maybe let me just add this university certificate to it. And then they start ACCA instead of going to another university in Nigeria, and then that helps them because they take all those courses and then they write the project and then they get a certificate and they also get the ACCA qualification, right? And I would also say that it's just an issue of pros and cons. So currently, you know, I did mention that in Canada, you can convert from ICANN to CPA, right? You just need to write the final exams of CPA. For ACCA, you can't do that because what happened is that ACCA, based on what I had, they also have their own certification in Canada. They call them ACCA Canada. So what that means is that they are more like competing with CPA Canada. Because before, ACCA candidates used to have that kind of access that ICANN currently has, that you can convert from ACCA to CPA. But there was an issue because CPA thought it doesn't make sense if these guys are competitors to us in our country, and then we also want to give them because that doesn't make sense. Because what that means is that people just can write ACCA in ACCA Canada, they get certification and they just get CP as well, right? So it's more like you're a competitor and you also get something for free for us. So they have to cut that bilateral, that mutual relationship that they previously had. And so that's why it's an issue of pros and cons. Now, what exactly are you looking to achieve by taking this certification? What's the value that I think it will add to you? And like the example I gave with that man that did not go to university, it's just a very good point for him, right? And there are people that also take ACCA and convert to ICANN as well in Nigeria. I've seen a lot of people do that as well. And one thing about all these things is just stick to one route and go through with it. And then you can consider, okay, what are the other alternatives? And that's why when you want to start, you need to ask yourself, what exactly am I looking to get out of this certification? Because that is what will really, really help your decision making. I hope that answers it.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir. Yeah,
Yeah.
goodness. I don't know if you want to like do an appreciation so that we can round up at this point.
Yes,
Sorry,
please. It's
before
been
you do that, sorry, I
okay.
just wanted to add, for the person that asked regarding the ACC, so if you actually want to know more about ACC, you can just the way I said, ICANN Tutorial Center near me. You can also look for ACC Tutorial Center near you, and you go there and you talk about it, and they will actually give you, without you registering or doing anything, they actually give you and explain further the benefit. And if you also go online, search for accglobal.com, you will see a whole lot of information that talks about the fees, the examination structure, the qualification, and all. Everything is at your fingertip. At best, go to ChatGPT, type it there. I want to start ACC exam. This is the qualification I have. What do I do? It will give you everything that you need. Yeah. So the world is currently at your palm, and I wish you guys the very best. Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you. Goodness.
Okay. Yeah, thank you very much, James. Thank you, Adedamola. Thank you for really taking our time this Saturday morning. I know this is meant to be rest period, catch up on probably other stuff that you have not been able to do over the week, but you are really here to give us premium value. So just a reminder, I'll be in touch with you to get the materials you said you were going to share. There are conversations around the slide deck. I think I took a note of them, so I would share them with you and just get back to the team. So thank you very, very much for your time. It's been an amazing evening. And trust me, I believe that there are other means of engagement that will still definitely touch base with you on, and just reach out and say, please come speak to our audience and stuff. So James is on the call. James is the founder I was talking about earlier. So we started listening together, and I can see wonderful, see a couple of my guys around. So it's an honor to have you with us. So our next session definitely is coming up later in March, in the middle of the week. I know this Women's Month, they will not allow us here watch this match. We'll not go rest. But we are going to be having some amazing conversations in that light and in that regard. So yeah, so I don't know how many Mother's Day, how many Kinecon Women's Day that we have in a year, but we have learned to live with it. So everybody just type thank you Adedamola in the chat box, and we call it a day.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So enjoy the rest of your weekend, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Take care.
Yeah,
Thank
so
you,
please
guys.
catch up on our video on YouTube. Check it out. We would be in touch with more exciting content. Yeah, bye.